Hello everybody, my name is Virus Alertable and I am back to bring you guys another video. Today we're going to be looking at Windows Longhorn Milestone 6 build 4033. I know what you guys are thinking. It's been a while since I've come back. Well, I'm finally happy to say I came back. I wanted to come back just to kind of share these videos back again. I've been reading a lot of the comments, and every day I felt really bad for leaving you guys high and dry, and I've left this on a really high cliffhanger. But I wanted to come back and give you guys something new. That out of the way, let's jump right into the build for 64,033. So for this build, we finally reached milestone 6. It's a big jump from the last one. I believe the last one was like milestone 3 or 4, but now we finally reached milestone 6, 4,033. Awesome. This build was compiled back in the 7th, on July 18th, 2003, very early on in the development before Vista. There's a lot of changes we're going to have to see in this build. So right now we have a new wallpaper change saying that hey, milestone 6. As you can see, here's what it looks like. It still has the old Windows logo, and as you can see, the start button looks almost exactly the same as the last video, which is really, really nice. Over here, the same login is kept from the old version. No problem, and as well as the boot screen, and the pig Latin in there is still present. As you can see, here's the new boot screen. It looks exactly the same as the old login screen. Nothing much has changed here. Everything looks really nice. The sidebar, if you guys notice the sidebar, it's a little bit empty. There used to be a little bit more stuff that we could see on the side, but now there really isn't much that we can really see for the eyes. But the clock is a lot bigger, so for those people who can't see the clock very well, hey, at least you guys got a bigger clock. We also got a new icon on the screen, file for a bug report, which is really nice. This is where they use internally for Windows, for Microsoft. Remember, these are mostly Microsoft employees doing the actual testing instead of regular old people like you and me. And that's the resource they would use, using Internet Explorer and using the URL to actually file bug reports with the actual operating system. As you can see, we're kind of looking around. I haven't been able to get the drivers to work in these videos, but in the future videos you guys are going to see in the next couple weeks, the drivers will actually work. I actually was able to get the network and the SVGA drivers. As you can see, nothing really much has changed here in the point of icons or anything cosmetic. It really just looks like the regular old taskbars, and the icons still have that Windows XP kind of flair to them, which I have no problem at all. I love Windows XP, and and just to get you guys know, just a little thing, I actually modified my Windows 10 setup with classic shell and a couple other things to make it look exactly like Windows XP, just because I miss Windows XP so darn much. And you know, I can't say, but it's the best operating system out there. Sorry, Windows 7, I love you, but I love Windows XP a lot better. And here we go, let's continue. Everything's really blue and a little bit red, nice contrast. The computer icon has changed. It did not look like that. We now have a couple new folders, my contacts and games library. We're gonna take a look at Outlook. Outlook looks a little bit different. It's now displaying Outlook Express 7. And we also have Windows Messenger. It still looks the same as it did in Windows XP, but there is some new functionality that they did add in here, and I'm trying to add like a little fake email here. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna enjoy that. It's really nice to look at it. It's nothing really much has changed cosmetically on the side, but they did upgrade the version, doing some under the hood kind of things on Windows Outlook or Windows Mail. It's now going to be called Windows Mail in the future. And as we can see, we also still have Windows Internet Explorer. You guys saw Internet Explorer show up, and that's already Windows Explorer 6.05. And if you guys noticed, when we were opening the web pages, the toolbar is now beside the menu bar instead of being below it, which is going to be kind of cool, kind of that thing that you're going to notice in these Longhorn builds, even before the reset. It's kind of like it's the direction that Microsoft really wanted, and it's really amazing to see some of the things that we see in Vista today that still carried over from that milestone Outlook, but you can kind of see the actual projection that Microsoft really wanted to. Here we have the Plex style, which is going to be replaced by the Arrow style back into Windows Vista. Really nice. There's also an internal program here in Windows in these milestone builds. New little screensaver. Very nice. You can see Microsoft took a lot of work doing that. But also in some new wallpapers as well. Looking very nice. They remind me a lot of the Windows Vista wallpapers that we have today. You can kind of see that inspiration just kind of jumping in. They're getting closer and closer to that development. But as we all know, the reset happened and we weren't able to enjoy some of the features that are in Windows Longhorn in these milestone builds. Additionally, there's this program that the internal Microsoft users would use. It's called Vote Now, and it displays a message so that employees can use that build and they can vote on the aspects of that build after some time. So from what I can get is that they voted on some of the features or if there was any bugs within the actual software, like, hey, what do we do correctly in this build, and what can we carry over, what can we do better to more improve our builds. And that's kind of like what we're seeing here. We're kind of seeing, like, you know, the help topics. There's a long little pause right there that I have right there. I do apologize for that. I was looking something up on the actual builds, but here we go. We're going to continue on. And you can see the clock looks a lot different, looks completely different from what we have in Windows XP, and it's something new that they added in this build as well. It's very nice. I really liked the way, and I really liked the way they made the build, how they made everything look, and it was kind of weird kind of seeing how this transforms and becomes, like, slowly becoming Vista. As you can see, you can actually set an alarm here, which is actually kind of not something that we really had on Windows XP at all, or any of the other operating systems before. We never had any type of thing where you would interact with the alarm and give you an alarm, so it gives you a little dialog box. And if I had the sound card working, it would presumably give you, like, a little sound saying beep, 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 I don't know. And here we go, and you can see kind of like how this operating system is really, really geared towards the at-home user. I want to quickly put in a quick disk. I'm going to see if I can put in some drivers here. Oh, actually, no, the extras. Not the drivers, the extras that this operating system had. But it told me to go to control panel. I couldn't really get this one to work, unfortunately. I wanted to see some of the extras that it came with, but it didn't really let me go for it. It would say that there's no programs in there. I couldn't really add any new features to it, unfortunately. But you can see, this is really geared towards more of the consumers. This still was really geared toward consumers instead of businesses, because you can see a lot of the things for multimedia. I could definitely see that this operating system was ahead of its time, trying to become the all-in-one kind of system. You can make it a media center, you can make it for your pictures, you can make it for storage, and you can even use it to surf the web and do your everyday computing. But unfortunately, this is way ahead of its time, and I mean, the advent of the consoles and other things that, you know, other companies trying to do, like, you know, Apple was going to make the Apple TV, and the advent of our tablets and our smart TVs that came way later, it replaced this aspect. So it wasn't really gonna work if you kind of thought about it. If you kind of think about it, they were gonna become obsolete by the time maybe Windows 8.1 would come out. So you wouldn't even need any of these features. And you can see a lot of these features were scrapped. I mean, and I can only imagine also on the coding aspect, trying to make it really stable and keeping everything, you know, in check. Yeah, that's going to be very difficult, because if you guys remember it and you guys know, the reason why Microsoft reset the code is because there were so many bugs and there were so many things that they were all over the place. They didn't know exactly the direction they really wanted to go, and they ended up kind of over bloating the operating system and the builds to proportions where, like, they just didn't have, like, a future. They didn't have any features to do. And you can see I'm struggling trying to install these software. I'm clicking everything, but I just cannot do it. Oh man, it's really hard to do these kind of things. I had a lot of problems with some of these builds. I gotta tell you this. These were a nightmare. I think this is the most frustrating Windows I've ever had, and I thought, like, Windows 2000, the Windows 98, and the Windows 95, because I had to completely learn a new virtual machine, which was PSEM. I had to learn something completely new instead of this. But, man, I don't know. I thought this was really frustrating because beforehand I had to actually install Windows XP. I had to use an old Windows XP VM that I don't really use anymore. I used it for more testing purposes and sandbox environments rather than really any builds. And I ended up, like, you know, having to use it to upgrade to M6. And then you guys will see in the next video that I had to reinstall Windows again because my setup crashed and I couldn't do anything about it. I forgot to change the BIOS date, because, you know, all these builds have a time bomb. Here we're seeing the actual parental controls functions, and this is kind of what showed up in Windows Vista. You can kind of see, some of you guys may be familiar with those parental controls. I know I was. When I remember when my father had his laptop and it had Vista, he would put parental controls on my account. I absolutely loved it. Again, we're taking a look at the login screen, and you can see the testing it out, user login failure. It restricts you from ever logging in because the user has been blocked. You can't do anything. I don't really have any games to really test out, and I really don't want to install any games because I'm pretty sure it's going to crush the operating system. And I really don't want that. It's going to make my job a little bit more difficult. Be kind of cool to see. And you can see, Parents had a lot of controls, and again, you can really see these aspects of this is geared more toward the everyday consumer instead of a business. I mean, you really don't need some of these things on a business operating system. I mean, you can do that through domain controllers and server-side kind of things. You don't need the operating system to do it for you. I mean, you have the domain controllers, you have the servers that will block all the, suspicious things, and you can even have permissions for domain controllers that they can't download stuff that employees can't download. They can't use USB sticks, and it's being used today. I mean, you really didn't need to be like, oh, you can't do that. You can't play these adult-only games at work. Come on, man. What are you doing playing Leisure Suit Larry? But as I mentioned, I'm no stranger to it. It was kind of frustrating, and Microsoft really made it kind of foolproof if kids weren't so technically inclined. As you can see over here, it's kind of funny that they didn't change it to the clock here in Task Manager. They changed it in the taskbar, but they didn't change it in Task Manager. Of course, I mean, they're not going to get through every nook and cranny. Here we're going to see the activation window. It looks exactly like the Windows XP activation window. There's nothing really too special. Yes, I tried activating Windows, and Microsoft got mad at me and said, no, this is an invalid product, so I'm not going to be able to activate this version of Windows. We'll just continue on. I'm going to take a look at some of the new folders. We're going to take a look at the games library. We have Hearts, Solitaire. These are the old games that we have in Windows XP. They have different icons. Still same. They're not going to be revamped until, I believe, after the reset. So we're not going to see any major changes into that. Same with the sample music. We're not going to have any changes to those as well until after the reset happens. And that's not going to be until, like, the later builds. And I'm pretty sure that's really about it. That's all I have for you guys today. There's nothing much else I can say about this build. It's a definitely big step up from the new version. And you can see some of the little... We're going to kind of navigate into local disk a little bit and kind of see like the new changes that they have on the local disk. You can see it's completely different from XP entirely. It's a completely new take that they have on it. Very interesting things, and I actually really like it. I kind of wish they kept this, but I can kind of see how it's kind of a little bit clunky and how it would be a little weird to navigate. But honestly, it's okay. It looks really nice in my book. But who knows? I'm crazy. But, it's amazing. It's great. Really nice to see the development again. Icon's still the same. The sounds, I believe, were still the same, even up until the later builds. They didn't change until they were, I'll just give you guys a spoiler. The sounds didn't change until, like, the last two builds that I have. The last build, actually, that I had, which is almost like it was close to a release candidate, but that was it. Again, guys, I think that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys staying loyal, especially you guys. 351 subscribers. You guys are there, staying loyal, waiting for me, and I still see the comments waiting for me. Well, I'm back, and I hope we can finish this Windows series and we can move on to bigger and better things. You guys take care. I love you guys so much, and you guys inspire me for everything. Virus Literable, signing off.